Okay, guys, we got a 42-year-old female in cardiac arrest in or out. Okay, pulseless per paramedics. 2 rounds of CPR, no shocks given. She was found down with no witnesses. They already got her intubated. Okay, who's our doc? Okay, good. We'll meet you in the room. ETA is in 2 minutes. Okay, Heather, do you mind paging RT, lab, and x-ray stat? Okay, Bella, I know you're a nursing student. I want you standing by the doc, listening to everything we say and watching everything we do, okay? It's important for you to know why it is we're doing what we're doing. Okay, like Emma right there. She's grabbing the crash card. Okay, thank you, Emma. You're on meds. Get that epi ready to rock. Okay, Mateo? Yeah, get her hooked up to the defibrillator as fast as you can, okay? I want her on both monitors, okay? So K-Dog, on our monitor too, and stat vitals, please. Make sure you double check every connection, okay? Hannah, you feeling strong? Good, you're on chest compressions, okay? Full chest recoil, and I want you swapping out with Caleb every 2 minutes. You will tire out, okay? Haley, can you record? Good. Haley's on timing, guys. Do not distract Haley. Fire said that they could barely get an IJ in, okay? So we're gonna need a second line of access, but let's check the one that we got for patency. Marshawn, can you bag? Good. Okay, remember not to hyperventilate. Good. Madeline, you know the drill. EKG, straight to the doc. Anyone that's got their hands free during the pulse checks, I want loud and clear whether or not we have a pulse, okay? Paramedics are rolling in. This guy. Yeah, no, I got report from charge. Any changes? Yeah, they did 1 round of CPR. We got her on the monitor. Hey, doc, that looks like VFib. You ready to shock? All right, that's a go, people. Hey, Mateo, charge it up. I'm clear, you're clear, everyone's clear? I never thought those kinds of words could come out of my mouth. You see, before I became a nurse, I had trouble even talking to people, looking people in the eye, even checking out at the grocery store. You know, head down, no conversation, grab my bag and go. You know, I distinctly remember telling my folks, teary-eyed, that I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. This was well after high school. And it's a tough thing to say. It's an even tougher thing to live like that day in and day out. Some of you out there can relate, right? Because I didn't like who I was. I didn't know who I was. And I struggle with that. A lot of people do. But fast forward to now, and I'm still Stephan Torres, and my life has changed dramatically, and I attribute a lot of that to my decision to becoming a nurse. Best decision I ever made, hands down. So let's talk about it. What does it mean to be a nurse? What do nurses do? Is it fun? Is it boring? How much money do you make? How do you get there? How long does it take to become a nurse? What type of person do you have to be a nurse? And then I'll do some myth busting and whatnot at the end, but I'm gonna start with the first one. What do we do as nurses? Okay? I love nursing because there's something for everyone. And at any point in time, you can decide to do any one of those things if you want to. Example, flight nurses, okay? I know flight nurses that work 1 week on, 1 week off, okay? Literally transporting patients from hospital to hospital or off of the freeway, providing critical care mid-flight, okay? This is something I looked into in Hawaii when I was travel nursing there, which is something you can very easily do once you become comfortable as a nurse. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum, in a more relaxed environment, okay, you could be a telephone triage nurse, answering calls, concerned patients. And then you got everything outside of that and in between. In fact, the last hospital I worked at, the CEO was a nurse. Wasn't really providing patient care, but was running the show, the whole show. And then you got nursing informatics, if you're in IT, computers, big money there, okay? And then you got cruise ship nursing. You could be a nurse at Disney, a nurse at Microsoft. Okay, and then the more common ones in the hospital, you can work in emergency department, intensive care, surgery, anything that piques your interest. You will find a facility that will train you to do it. Nurses are like the eyes and the ears and sometimes even the hands of the doctor, okay, because they're busy looking at lab work and x-rays and all that stuff. So we play a critical role in being an extension of that primary decision maker. And so that's the reason why in that first, code situation I was giving you, me being the primary nurse, I was given all the commands because the doctor's sitting back thinking deeply and intently about the next decision, about how they're going to treat that patient. That's their job, and they rely on us to be a well-oiled machine. So when they give an order, we execute it precisely. So what kind of person do you got to be become a nurse? The truth of the matter is, all you need is the capacity to care. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it's the truth. Even more so if you enjoy it. You enjoy caring about your dog, your cat, your sister, your brother, okay, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your friends online, your parents. No matter what it is, that's all you need. They'll teach you the rest. And I know that because that's all I had, was the capacity to care. See, I didn't play any sports. I wasn't part of any clubs. My friends were slackers, partiers. I didn't have anything going for me except that capacity to care. I knew that about me. All that stuff you heard me rattling off at the start, I didn't know any of that. But I became confident enough to do it over time, just like the things that you're confident in right now that you probably take for granted. Take texting, for example, right? The first text you sent, I bet you weren't dropping DMs and sending snaps as confidently as you are now. But you practiced, and over time, you got good. And now you're sending them with confidence. So as far as the type of person you got to be a nurse, just have the capacity to care. You got that and you're golden. Now you also might care about the money that you make, and that actually depends on where you're working. Okay, for instance, I talked to my friend that's down in the San Francisco Bay Area just today, and she said a new nurse there, fresh out of school, $60 or more an hour. Okay, that's $110,000 a year, first job out of school. Okay, now keep in mind, that's the Bay Area. Okay, you're not going to get pay anywhere near that in South Dakota. Okay, but that's working a typical nursing schedule in the hospital, which if you didn't know, is 3 days on with 4 days off each week. Okay, some people like to work 6 on and have 8 off. You know, some people are more night owls and like to work the night shift and, you know, where it's a little more peaceful and quiet, but not really. It all depends on what you want to do. And you have that flexibility once you become a nurse. And once you become comfortable as a nurse, you can travel all around the country and get paid well to do so and meet amazing people while you're doing it. I mean, I'm telling you, the possibilities are endless. But money aside, what could you get out of nursing? I can tell you, I got a whole lot more than I could ever imagine. See, every day I walk into a hospital, I get to pull up a roller chair to a vulnerable patient, okay, another person in need, and ask, how can I help? And then I get to help them. And I can do that because I know how. Because I became a nurse. You see, people will go through their entire life searching for meaning, fulfillment, purpose, right? Even the wealthiest of the wealthy, okay, at the pinnacle of what our society defines as success, still do that, okay? They volunteer. They go to churches, shelters. They donate. Whatever they can try to do to make a difference. It's my job. It's our duty to make a difference. So that meaning, that fulfillment, that purpose in life, to make a difference in our world that some people never find, I do that one patient at a time every time I clock in. And I get paid to do it, so can't beat that, right? So I took it a step further and decided to use social media in a fun and entertaining way to educate. You ever have a doctor that's, you know, cracking jokes, a nurse that's really funny, helps ease the tension, okay, relax and gives you clarity. Okay, so I decided to go on social media and I get a lot of kudos for what I do. Okay, you know, I've been recognized by some of the nation's most prestigious institutions and organizations, and that's why I'm here talking to you today. You know, and I can do that because I became a nurse. Okay, but I do have my limitations, and that's where you come in. See, I could educate on heart disease and diabetes and women's health. In fact, I'm actually widely known for a lot of those topics. But when it comes to communication that's efficacious, that patients can follow, that they can understand, it's been proven time and time again that the more relatable someone is to you, the better relationship there is between teaching and learning. If there's a patient that's going through anxiety or depressive state, you know, I can sit and talk with them because I've been through that. I can speak on that. But if the circumstance is because they just lost their mother and now they're feeling suicidal, I'm going to try to find someone on the unit that's walked a similar path, you know, who can broach that conversation better than I can, okay, because we've all walked our own paths. Okay, skin color, cultural background, sexual identity. Can I provide excellent care to a transgender patient? Absolutely. But how much more effective might it be if we have a nurse on the unit that's transgender? Okay, naturally, we're going to get better connections, better listening, better communication, and ultimately better care. And I stress this because no one goes through life without going to the hospital, right? So it's important for us to have a broad representation of a beautiful variety of nurses with different perspectives, different life experiences, different origins, to be able to provide the very best care that we can for all of us. So you might be wondering, how do you become a nurse? Okay? Well, there's 2 main ways. One, you go to a university. After 4 years, you come out with your Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. You get to sit for your RN licensure exam. The second most common way is by going to community college. We'll say there's about 1 year prerequisites and 2 years for the actual nursing program. After you finish that, you get your associate's degree in nursing and can also sit for your RN licensure exam. After that, if you'd like to get your bachelor's, usually universities offer an online ladder program, online or in person, usually takes about a year. If you want to take it a step further, you can get your master's degree and specialize in something like nurse educator, nursing informatics, nurse practitioner, which I'm sure a lot of your primary care providers are nurse practitioners, and they also work in intensive care units, surgeries, all over the place. And if you want to take it a step further, you can get your doctorate in nursing practice, or DNP, which one of my friends from Cameroon, West Africa, has just completed and is now standing as a role model for aspiring students that identify with her uniqueness. We want more of that. We need all of you so we can all have it. Okay, time for some myth busting and taking care of some of those but what ifs, okay? Number one, but what if I can't do needles, urine, blood, sputum, fill in the blank, okay? Listen, I got news for you. None of us are down with any of that, okay? Listen, if you like blood or needles or sputum, there's probably a subreddit for you. But in all seriousness, I've known people with terrifyingly dramatic phobias of needles that have overcome those fears by way of consistent exposure and creating new associations. See, once you understand the role a needle plays in saving people's lives, and once you learn how much we can tell about a person's physical and psychological condition from just a little bit of blood, those things become less scary and more powerful. I've seen it. It's possible, I promise. Number two, but what if I don't have good communication skills? I think I covered this in the beginning, but let me tell you a little story about my first patient as a nursing student. He was 80 years old, and I paced in front of his door for an hour long until my nursing instructor came up and said, listen, you got to go in. Okay, I'll never forget that time. I'll never forget the time where I was off of orientation, okay, and I had my first real patient in the hospital. No preceptor, it was my patient. They had a doctor, but it was my patient. I had to talk to him. And that turned into me getting to care for him. And from that 80-year-old man and on, I got so much gratitude that acted as positive reinforcements for me to keep going, for me to know that I had value, for me to know that I had self-worth, for me to know that I could communicate. And now I don't shut up, okay? Number three, what if I hate paperwork? Listen, the majority of places you're going to be working in, particularly hospitals, are all on electronic medical records, which means you will always and only be on the computer. Very few exceptions, okay? There are some facilities that are still on paper charting, but for the most part, we're all on electronic medical records, okay? So have no fear. In fact, your generation's going to rock it, okay? I'll give you an example. I was sitting across the room from one of my colleagues, and I see her squinting at the screen for way too long. So I walked over there, and I was like, let's get... see that little maximize button? Why don't we click that right there? Boom. Right? Now I'm her best friend and / a wizard, right? There's so many other I just can't do's and but what ifs, and I'm here to tell you that you can do. And so what if? You know, for anyone that knows my demons, my struggles, knows my life ain't peachy. But I didn't let anything stop me from becoming a nurse, from being here today, from fulfilling my capacity to care, the one thing I knew that I had. So my life has a very apparent purpose. And when we live our lives aligned with what we believe to be our purpose, that's where we find happiness. So no matter what happens to me, I'll always have that. And I have nursing to thank for it. So no matter what profession you choose, I want you to have that too. I also want to thank you for joining me, and maybe I'll see you working with me in the future. Cheers.